We've loved the Minions ever since all their movies came out, right from the very start. Now we're getting yet another Minion movie this week. Now these trailers are packed with details you'd need explained. Like, who really is the evil master they're serving? And why does this monster look like a Minion experiment gone wrong? And how the heck are they getting eaten by a shark? Welcome to Minionaire. You're going to the channel for all things about your favorite yellow troublemakers. Hit the subscribe button or you'll get a terrible seat at the cinema. Right off the bat, we learned that this new movie is set in a time only our great-grandparents would remember. The Illumination title card isn't just black and white, but the style used is so similar to the very first two-dimensional animations that the world ever saw. I'm talking about the type that we first saw Mickey Mouse be a part of. Now, judging from this style, this movie might be taking us back all the way to the first couple of decades of the 20th century. Now, the title card is what makes us first believe this, but this next detail makes us very, very certain. When the Minions come out of what looks like a really luxurious car, we can see that the cameras being used by the paparazzi and the attire of the valet right here might actually take place before the events of Minions: The Rise of Gru. If we look at the background of this other scene here, we can see the cars being used are definitely not from the modern age or the second half of the last century. These are proper vintage vehicles, the type that you can only see at a museum. Nobody would even ride these as a collectible. Now, what makes this movie a bit confusing is that it feels like a prequel to a prequel, because the events of the second Minion movie took place before the first one, and now by the third movie, we're going even further into the past. I don't know what Illumination is cooking with this timeline, but I'm sure they have something big in store if this is the route that they're taking. Now this, believe it or not, the Minions know that they are in a movie. Nope, don't worry, it's not like they're breaking the fourth wall or anything, but it's really just a weird coincidence. We do understand from the trailer that the plot goes along the lines of the Minions becoming movie stars and their desire to skip visual effects and have real monsters in their movies. That's right, these little yellow guys were the Christopher Nolans before Christopher Nolan himself. But in the trailer, we see a frame with the literal name of the movie here. So Minions and Monsters is a movie about the Minions making a movie called Minions and Monsters. The movie isn't even out yet, and they have me racking my head watching this trailer. While we have the time frame of this movie figured out, we also have a lock on the location of the movie. Well, to be honest, there wasn't too much thinking involved in figuring it out. I mean, the Minions are movie stars, and we have a scene where we see the infamous Hollywood sign on the hills. So we're in California, baby. And at this point, our little yellow friends have been almost everywhere at this point. In the first movie, they were on their way to Orlando, Florida. And here, they're on the West Coast trying to make it big in the film industry. And it seems like they've honestly made it. I mean, we see them show up in fancy golf attire, which screams stupid wealthy. And crowds don't show up to see you do a handprint in cement unless you're a big deal. So it's safe to say that these Minions really did make it big in LA, but not so fast. This might not just be a story about fame and fortune. I think we could actually be getting a rags to riches story. In this scene of the trailer, we see the Minions living in what looks like an abandoned building, which has a hole in the wall. Hey, who needs a window when you have a giant gaping hole here? Now, the imagery we get looks nothing similar to what we first saw. But the question is, which is it? Did the Minions get rich before they were broke, or were they on top of the world just to fall off? Either of these plot lines is definitely something we see a lot of in Hollywood anyway, so we can take whatever Illumination decides to throw at us. Now, this movie couldn't help but make a couple of references to some popular movies, and the first one that I knew straight away was this Jaws reference. I mean, come on. Was I really supposed to see a shark in the water and think of another movie like Meg or something? Now that would be crazy. This scene got me thinking about what a Minion would actually taste like. We've never really seen them get eaten by an animal or a monster before. But trust me, a giant shark like this isn't even the most monstrous thing in this movie. What I noticed about this movie set straight away was the fact that the Minions and these actors were shooting a scene that was going to feature Vikings. Nowadays, timepieces of ancient civilizations are really easy to make because you don't need that many props to reenact these. While the movie tries to stay as realistic as it can to things that were going on in the early 1900s, seeing a female Viking, it's nice to see that Illumination takes gender equality and representation seriously, especially during a time when women still had to do a lot of fighting for their rights. Now, this movie isn't just giving highlights and prompts to women in Hollywood, it's giving it to another Minion. In a movie about creatures that are essentially twins of each other, it's always nice when we get standout characters. We already got Mel, and the Minion movies gave us the trio of Stuart, Bob, and Kevin. But in this third movie, it looks like we're going to get. Now, during the part of the trailer where the Minions are putting their handprints in cement, we see that there's a Minion who gets his head pushed into the cement. We can see that his distinctive feature is a missing tooth. It's already hard to keep track of all the Minion characters, but with this character, we can spot him from a mile away, and he can be recognized by his missing tooth. Now, in this part of the trailer, we can see text in the background that reads, ravioli. Now, I know the Minions have done a lot of crazy things in their many years on Earth, but cooking? I really wouldn't put it past them. And what makes it extra strange is the fact that we see this during a time when they're trying to summon a monster. I don't know what type of monster they're trying to bring from wherever, but I don't think a secret ravioli recipe will help bring the meanest monster to life. If you look right here, you can see that there are empty ravioli cans on the ground as well. So could we see the Minions try to convince a monster to join their movie set with Italian food? As absurd as that sounds, it's a pretty realistic possibility that could happen in the Minion movie. But this next scene explains just why we see so many cans of pasta around. Turns out that this whole fiasco is taking place in a restaurant. Now, I really can't make sense of why they would pick this place to summon a beast, but hey, it's the Minions. Nothing they ever do makes sense. A mummy is a pretty nice monster to have featured in a movie. A zombie wrapped in paper is a pure Hollywood classic. But the only issue is that having a mummy as the star monster in your movie isn't the most original thing. We've seen them featured in some of Hollywood's biggest movies, and heck, we even got an epic trilogy that got so big there was an entire franchise of it. But what I told you was that when the Minions were playing with this mummy, they weren't looking for a movie star. But here's what you might not realize about this mummy being here. It could be an old master of the Minions. You do understand that mummies are really just ancient Egyptian kings who were buried in a very fancy way. Does this ring a bell? If it doesn't, I'm really wondering if you're a Minion fan, because you would know that ancient Egyptian pharaohs are amongst the evil people that they served until they accidentally buried them alive. So could it be that they are literally looking at one of their former masters? This is the weirdest way to have a reunion, but I guess it counts. But what's weird is that we can see that there is a toilet right next to the tomb here, and it's occupied by one of the Minions. I guess if you have to, you've gotta go. Using the mummy's cloth as toilet paper is disrespectful, but hey, it's a Minions world. One of the biggest questions that we all wanted answered when we saw this trailer is this: who is that super evil person that the Minions will be serving in this movie? Well, there's one face that keeps reappearing everywhere in this trailer, and it's this short dude that looks like he can't hurt a fly. But in the world of animated movies, there is nothing more deceiving than looks. So we can't say if he's truly evil or not. But judging from the way the Minions are all over him, it makes you wonder, are they at his service, or do they just need his help to make a monster blockbuster? Haha, see what I did there? Now, there is a reason we have to believe that he has some skeletons in his closet, and that's literally because of his closet choice. A monocle is something that we see people of this age wear a lot, especially if they're rich and elderly, and also if they are evil. Or this could just be a motif that plays into how some of the Minions have 2 eyes and some have 1. There's a lot of symbolism in this movie, so hold on to that thought real quick. Now, aside from this movie director, there's someone we see a lot of, and it's this green monster right here. It appears to be a baby Cthulhu. We get the scene where the Minions try to summon the monster. Now, Cthulhu is a classic villain like the Mummy. It was created by H.P. Lovecraft, and the alien's name sounding like it's not English is not random. It's supposed to have extraterrestrial origins. So, space aliens in 19 to 20 and mummies from like 10,000 BC? Yup, there was a wild spectrum of monsters in this movie. There's a scary drawing of the monster, and the enchantment literally glows green. But what I don't understand is, why didn't they summon a scary monster, but got a dude that looks like he could be in a Teletubbies episode? But judging from how often we see him in the trailer, it's clear that he will play a very pivotal role in this movie. It looks like he's the bridge between the minions and the rest of the monsters they encounter. Because here, it looks like he's helping them summon scarier monsters. Now, let's look at them for a second. We get these two scary monsters. Both of them look like sea monsters, because the blue one here is wearing what looks like a skirt made of seaweed and a bra made out of seashells. Now, the other one is also a female, and it's not because it's pink. We can see here that two of its tentacles fold back like hair. So, unless this is supposed to be a male monster with tentacles folded back like hair, these are pretty much she monsters here. But they are nothing compared to this fourth and biggest monster that we come across. This yellow blob of a monster is very, very huge. I'm talking about rampages through the city and destroying landmarks on a huge level. But here's the wildest part about everything. And no, it's not the fact that the monster is named Irene. But you have to admit, that's really clever. With all these eyes, there really couldn't be a better name. But are we really going to ignore the fact that this monster is yellow with a lot of eyes? There are so many possibilities when you think about what exactly does Irene have to do with the minions. Now, we do know there's barely any science in this movie. If we see anything out of the ordinary, it's because of either movie magic or real magic. And the trailer already showed two spells being casted. So, did the minions get a spell wrong and get some of them turned into this mess? Or is it part of the movie that they're making? Well, I guess we'll find out on July 1st in the theaters. But I have a feeling that this monster is nothing more but a product of a spell gone wrong. Because the second spell we catch in this trailer is one where there's a book with lines and a lot of eyes. Well, would you look at that? What monster has countless eyes on them again? I'll give you a hint. It's big, yellow, and her name is Irene. Now, if you pause the trailer right here, you can catch a triangle and it has the three monsters standing in each corner, Cthulhu and the two sea monsters. Now, we get an eye in the middle of the triangle. I know the conspiracy theorists are about to have a field day with this one, but the symbol kind of reminds me of the Disney villain Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. Another monster, except he's from another dimension, but definitely a monster and very, very evil. I don't want to believe Pixar and Illumination are planning a crossover, and to be fair, nobody owns the triangle with an eye symbol, so we can't make too much of it. Now, in what looks like a mood board, we can catch a glimpse of a teddy bear. And you know the saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, if there's a teddy bear, you definitely know which minion that is. It's Bob. But that means that Bob has been with this teddy bear for close to a century now. But if Bob has a teddy bear in this movie, that means that he's one of the first people to ever have a teddy, since teddies weren't a thing for up to a decade during the time that this movie was set. Now we get this black and white scene, which stars Stewart in a trench coat. Now, black and white movies were the order of the day because colored film wasn't invented till the 1930s and only became mainstream in the 50s. From the outfit Stewart is rocking, we can tell that he's starring in a detective thriller. The hat and the smoke pipe really give it away. Talk about a Stewart Holmes or something. We know the minions don't exactly speak English, but from his expression of the way he says the words, it's as if he's recalling a bunch of clues. And we also learn that he's not alone. Now the crazy part is how he's not alone. The female character we see him with kind of looks like Lucy Wilde. Now, given the setting of the time, it could be possible that we will see the grandparents or relatives of our main characters. Can you believe how incredible that would be? Illumination, you better have a surprise for me. Now, we all know that there's no limit to the crazy shenanigans that these minions can be up to. So when we see a train that's gone off the rails plowed through the asphalt, I really wasn't surprised. I took it like just another normal sight of a world with the minions. Now, despite all the chaos going on, we can still catch sight of a lot of things, like the number 3 on the front of the train. As much as this could just be the serial number of the train they hijacked, I think it's too much of a coincidence given how this is also the third Minions movie. Now, the fact that at the bottom left side of the screen, we can see a man in a dress means that this scene is taking place not far from a movie studio. Now, it makes you wonder if the Minions were in the middle of a movie shoot when they decided to go off the rails. You also see what I did there? You know how Minions like retconning history, like how Napoleon's fall was their fault and how they were the ones who built the pyramid? Now it looks like we're going to get another historical retcon in this movie. Specifically, how the Hollywood sign used to be written as Hollywood Land. And to be honest, I can't be mad. Hollywood Land sounded like a mouthful anyway. In a movie with half the title having monster in it, you can never have too many creatures in it. And there's one monster that we just haven't seen come to life just yet. And that's the big dark monster sketched on paper here. We see the drawing of the monster, but we don't see where the reference comes from. We got krakens, a space squid, yellow jelly, and mummies, but there are no signs of a giant cloud beast anywhere. So what is a sketch of it doing here? As much as we don't know the answer to this question, we can believe one of two possibilities. Illumination decided to keep it hidden for the movies, or this was the ideal star for the Minions movie, but they ended up getting Irene instead. Remember when we talked about wealth? There's rich and there's Minion rich. A quilted robe with customized jewelry? Not only were the Minions rocking a fashion style that was ahead of their time, but damn, the likes of Douglas Fairbanks and Roscoe Arbuckle don't look like they're touching these levels of wealth. Did you really think we weren't going to address the elephant in the room? Animals have been a big part of Hollywood right from the start. CGI wasn't even something that movie makers could even dream of yet, so they had to resort to using real animals if they wanted feral co-stars. But that doesn't look like what's going on here. This looks like a party elephant, and we see the Minions riding one with their movie director. Now from this scene, this could possibly be an after party of a successful movie release. And by all means, we can say that this is one heck of a party. I mean, come on, it's the Minions. They couldn't try to be normal even if they tried. There you have it, all the details you need to know before you watch Monsters and Minions. Now, when you go to that theater, you can truly enjoy this incredible piece of cinema.